Hey traders, Raghee here, and the number one question that I had today, interestingly, wasn't necessarily the roller coaster ride that we saw in equities, because most of you by now know we're focused on the long side. We don't get rope-a-doped into shorts. If we do, we don't overstay our welcome, and we realize that the punchline almost every day is, surprise, short squeeze. So the question that I got a lot of today was, Rag, are bonds toast? And that means, is the buying opportunity gone? Do we need to start thinking about the short side, etc.? And my answer is no. Let's talk about why, and let's compare the last few moves lower in bonds to what we're getting right now. And just for perspective, I mean, this is much more akin to, some of the tiny moves we saw right here. This one's probably a little bit more akin. This move right here, which is more akin to this one right there, right? So we're not that far away in terms of the type of pullback we've seen the last, 3 pullbacks. I mean, I can't say this is that much different than what we saw on pullback that I just labeled 2, okay? Just generally speaking, real generally. The other thing I want to do is not just look at price, but price and volume. Now, even though this is a big part of how I day trade, everything we do as traders, ideally, should be universal and robust. That's just system speak. Traders, trading system speak for it should work really well, and it should work on everything. My opinion is if something's going to work on the bonds, it should work on beans. If something's going to work on bonds, it should go work on the yen, because we're measuring psychology at the end of the day. That being said, volume-wise, first of all, respect the trend that was. That's Charles Dow 101. And how did we get here overall? This has still been an overall bullish market. It is right now sideways, and it does bear, there we go. It does bear this yellow wave, which tells us, we're stuck in a sideways market, but we always respect the trend that preceded the chop. So is this a double green buy, a la what we've been doing in gold or what we've been doing in crude? No. However, I'm not a short seller. Generally speaking, I pick a direction, a bias, and I'll stick with that. Now, if we go back to June, heck, even March, and earlier in August, and right now, we have managed to stay above, for the most part, we've managed to stay above the +1 standard deviation of our V-score, okay? So this hasn't broken any volume thresholds that would concern me. Now, I don't mind if we pierce it. This white line you see running through here like this is what syncs up with this. So my V-score, a tool that I created for myself for my investing portfolio on an end-of-day basis, back in basically 2007, 2008 is when I started playing around with this. So now we have the bands to show us where price level would sync up with the different standard deviations, okay? So I know that we might pierce this. That's possible. But I'm looking for support at that level. So that's one reason to perhaps think long. We're also at the value area low for the month of August. Another reason to perhaps think long. The reason I'm going to tell you to wait and be prudent is because I'm not going to be surprised to see one of two scenarios. One is because today's range was pushing the upper end of typical daily price movement range, and we're still pretty heavy, it's trading really heavy, and the bond market has closed. 3 p.m., we kind of look at that close in the bond market. I won't be surprised to see a minor low get put in before we start to move back higher. That won't surprise me at all. Or I won't be surprised if we put in an inside day tomorrow. So either a lower low, and we put in a minor low, or we put in basically what many of you will know as a harami or an inside day. That's what I'm looking for. Either way, both those opportunities will give us a chance to, and I'll recommend going with the TLT at the money. Both those are going to give us an opportunity to look at the money TLT calls. So that's what I'm looking for tomorrow, maybe even into Monday. I'm not a bond seller yet. I don't think we've crossed thresholds on the ZB futures that allow me to even say that this broken uptrend that is now chop has organized into a downtrend. And remember this, broken uptrends are not downtrends, they're distribution. And that's where we are. So we're looking at an oversold support level. And that's what I'm looking at going into tomorrow and maybe even next week in the bond market.